What's up, guys? Wanted to do a video today. I'm not sure if this subject is going to be controversial or not. Probably so. People get offended on the internet for no reason. But I wanted to talk about something I see in a lot of gyms regionally, like gyms throughout the United States in general, martial arts gyms, and specifically for MMA. So this is why I believe so many MMA gyms can't produce high-level fighters. Well, the first thing is that they don't have enough technique. I'll be honest with you. Like, technique is king. When you get to the UFC level, Bellator level, 1FC level, major or PFL, big organizations, it's always the technique, because everybody there, the athletes are already tough. The athletes are already, most of them are athletic. They're tough, they have lots of experience, and their technique is just high-level stuff. And most gyms don't have that. But even more than that, I feel like a big reason why a lot of regional, local gyms in your area probably can't produce high-level fighters is because they teach Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. Most gyms constantly teach Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu instead of wrestling and boxing. Now, obviously, you need to learn Muay Thai, you need to learn Jiu-Jitsu. But let's break down what really works in MMA fights. And I don't mean to say Jiu-Jitsu doesn't work. Half my wins are by submission. I don't mean to say Muay Thai doesn't work. I've landed knees, I've landed elbows in fights, I've landed a lot of leg kicks. But we're talking about producing a high-level fighter. At the end of the day, in boxing, in MMA, boxing is king if we're on the feet. The hand will always land before the kick. You see knockouts in the UFC all the time, and 90% of them are from hands. Every now and then, you're going to have someone land a head kick. Every now and then, somebody's going to get stopped with a leg kick. Somebody's going to get caught with a knee. But the majority of knockouts in MMA fights come from hands, from boxing, because of little gloves. You can be the best kicker in the world, and you get hit with a pair of 4-ounce gloves, and you still lose. So boxing is one. I feel like most gyms should teach boxing twice as much as they teach Muay Thai. Now, of course, they still should teach Muay Thai and kickboxing, absolutely. But boxing is king. Boxing is king in MMA because of little gloves. And I think I've said this before in previous videos, but the best fighter don't always win because of little gloves. I mean, there's guys out there that have made careers out of basically getting their butt whipped and landing one overhand right, and it works out for them. So boxing is king. I feel like more gyms need to teach more boxing than they do Muay Thai. And the same thing with wrestling. I feel like I love Jiu-Jitsu. Half my wins are by submission in MMA, but at the same time, wrestling is king. The wrestler determines where the fight is going to be. If there's a lot of Jiu-Jitsu schools that they're primarily Jiu-Jitsu based MMA schools, and they have kids that are supposed to be grapplers, and that's their main discipline as a mixed martial artist is Jiu-Jitsu, but they don't know how to wrestle. It's mind-blowing to me that some of these guys that have such a good ground game don't know how to wrestle. I mean, that is ground game. If you don't know how to wrestle, you're not a grappler. I'm sorry, but you can be a jiu-jitsu fighter, and that's fine, but we're talking about producing a high-level MMA fighter. Wrestling and boxing is king, and I feel like I think a solution to this would be people need to bring in special coaches, especially, let's say, striking. People need to bring in coaches. Like, no, you might not be able to pay them, but you need a real system. Like Dwayne Lowick has a system, right? And I've trained with Dwayne Lowick and went to his seminars like 2 or 3 times already. Amazing coach, obviously world class, but he throws a lot of hands in his practices. And all of his kicks are set up with his hands. It's not just coming in the gym hitting Thai pads and doing a bunch of round kicks over and over. There's partner drills, there's defense, there's combinations. A lot of hand-based boxing, because he came from Bas Rutten, who was a Dutch kickboxer, and so I went and trained in Holland back in 2014. I stayed there for 1 month, and we boxed 3 days a week there. Dutch kickboxing is all I did, and within those practices we boxed 3 days a week. That's how important they thought it was, and as the gloves get smaller, it's even more important. So I feel like certain gyms should bring in coaches. They should do seminars, and when this person comes, write these techniques down. They also should bring in a boxing coach maybe 2 days a week. Boxing, you can find a decent boxing coach for pretty cheap if you're a gym owner. You could probably pay them, 30 to 50 bucks a class 2 days a week, and he at least teaches good fundamentals and good technique of boxing where you box 2 days a week. I think it's minimum. If you practice, let's say you practice 5 days a week, you should be boxing at least half that time. I would say if you're doing striking all 5 days, you should box 3 days and only kickbox 2 days if your goal is to be an MMA fighter. And then, of course, back to wrestling. Wrestling is king as well. Wrestling determines where the fight's going to be. If you can't take a wrestler down, you better hope you can outstrike them. And if you can't defend takedowns, a lot of stuff on your back just doesn't work at the high level. You can be a great, phenomenal black belt in jiu-jitsu, but unless you're like world-class, ADCC champion, then it doesn't matter. You're most likely not going to win off your back in the UFC or at a high-level organization. So it's a bad strategy to go into MMA as a grappler and do more jiu-jitsu than wrestling. You should do more wrestling than jiu-jitsu. If you practice 5 days a week, all grappling, I would say you should be wrestling 3 days a week and only doing jiu-jitsu 2 days a week. Where I'm coaching at in the program I'm running, I teach wrestling. I'm only there Monday through Thursday for classes, 4 days a week, and I teach grappling. I teach wrestling 2 of those days, all the time. Wrestling and cage work, which is important. So just, not trying to criticize people in gyms or anything, but just stating my opinion. I think it's obvious. More schools, regional schools, need to teach more boxing and wrestling versus jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that you discontinue those Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu. Of course you need them, but boxing is king and wrestling is king. And I think if more gyms took that serious, I think they would produce better fighters, and they would realize that very soon as well. So something to think about, guys. If you're looking for a new martial arts school, click the link in my description to my book, The Ultimate Guide to Choosing Your Martial Arts School and Instructor, and check it out. And hopefully it can help you find a gym and you don't run into, some BS and maybe some McDojo you want to learn training. A lot of people think when I talk about McDojos and stuff, people think I'm talking about just karate gyms. No, there's jiu-jitsu gyms out there that are, if your goal is to be a fighter, a high-level fighter, I'm speaking from that perspective. There's jiu-jitsu gyms that are going to get you messed up. There's kickboxing gyms that are going to get you messed up. They're basically considered McDojos as well, in my opinion, if they're not showing high-level technique and you think that you're going to come in and be a high-level fighter. So something to think about, guys. Let me know any other techniques you want to go over or any video, any stuff you want me to talk about.